and say, this is how this decision is being made. Let's get everybody's voices in here, and here's what the result has been. Instead of leaving you at the point of, well, let me hear what you want to say, and then you don't hear anything. So that's my idea of responsiveness in terms of being accessible. And I think the one other delineation that I want to make here is, because there's a little bit of, we have to be careful in this, in the way in which that we phrase this accessibility. There will be, or has been, conversation that the alderman that you would elect in the 6th Ward is an alderman who should be sort of in full time and have be there all the time to sort of do that. And I think that there is an inherent danger in potentially doing that. One is that's not the way in which our system has been set up. Our system, I believe, has been set up for me to facilitate, as an alderman, a process of building relationships between yourself, between institutions and organizations, between yourself and city staff, and empowering city staff to really help solve your problems. And so as an alderman, and in that leadership role at City Council, our job becomes, how do we provide city staff with the tools and resources and training that they need to best do their job? And I think that to make any form of statement that says that the alderman will supplant that city staff is counterproductive. Instead, I think it should be a facilitator of the process. And again, there's a lot of ownership. An alderman position is designed as the critical oversight of city services. That's a fundamental role and a fundamental piece of their job description. But I think you want to do everything in your power to support and build up that staff, and nothing's more critical now than that will be, particularly because we are facing what seems to be a stalled process in who our next city manager will be and who that person will be that will lead that staff.
Chris, yeah. I love your reaction on this. Certainly citizens of your ward are going to be interested in making sure that you hear their voices. On the other hand, it seems counterproductive, and I think this is what you might have just said, for voices to constantly be in your face, if you will, and you having to deal with every nuance and every issue and every concern that every individual happens to want to throw your way. You have another responsibility that you need to focus on and take seriously, and that is oversight of the operations of the city. So am I hearing you say that you want to hear what our concerns are and you want to hear what our primary interests are, and then you want to use that information to be informed about establishing criteria by which you will be evaluating recommendations and proposals, etc., that come your way? So you'll have our voices in the background, but you don't want to be messing with us on a daily basis necessarily.
Well, I'd love to mess with you on a daily basis, but
Got a printable quote.
that's right. That's the one that's going to go in there.
Vote the wrong way and you will.
Yes, and I think that there's two things in there. One is that part of that is helping to establish the relationship. So let's just take an example, and that would be an example of the services on my street, actual street services. It's how do you build a relationship to the critical point of the city service, the city staff, and allow you to have that avenue sort of set up. And where the alderman role comes in is it comes in when that breaks down. Because I don't think that we want to create a system where there is a dependency on, I think, the constituents at large between themselves and the alderman. I think that the alderman is there to provide and ensure that the resources you need are available, and then to ensure that you have easy access to those. I think the second part of that, though, is some of this is about, I think, lifestyle, meaning that the way in which that I have chosen to live my life has been one where when I make an agreement that this is a responsibility that I would like to assume, that is a holistic agreement. And that it is one where you have to learn to sort of weave your availability throughout your life. It isn't one of saying, I'm going to be available 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursday nights type situation. It's one of those where you make an agreement that you will be accessible. And now is the question of how do we make that accessibility easy things that we've been promoting is we've been promoting sort of the visitation to the website that we've been constructing. And we were very purposeful about how we were trying to put that together. And so there were, I can't tell you, countless conversations that we had about, can we start testing some things that we could learn from, that would say this would be a better way for us to get information from those who live within this community. And we're still testing out what those things are. But part of what I think we can do a better job at is providing you with access that is more accessible and is more specifically focused on what it is that you need. So if, for example, your real need is that I would like to understand what police alerts are in my particular area, that's information that you should have and should be specific to what you need. So part of what we're testing is we're trying to test how do we create, almost a portal, a little bit, of information that you would need, but at the same time, then it's a way in which the accessibility to myself as an alderman would be much more facilitated.